Morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. I have with me Jerin Valel, who is our Director of Tech and Transformation for the province of Manitoba, and he'll help me with a little bit of a show here later on. Because of the positive actions of Manitobans, we are thoughtfully and carefully beginning the process of reopening our communities and restarting our economy. And as a result of your hard work, and based on advice from our public health experts yesterday, we were able to announce that on June 1st, we'll be moving into phase 2 of our Restoring Safe Services plan. Manitoba, as you know, is a resilient province, and it continues to be a leader in recovery against this pandemic, and will continue to lead that resurgence because of your efforts. And it's Manitobans who deserve the credit for any progress we've made thus far. Part of that recovery is to help our young people, in particular our students, get back to work as soon as possible as we safely reopen our economy. And as Premier of this province, I often draw on the experiences that I was able to gain from summer employment over a few years. If it wasn't for summer jobs, like many Manitobans, and the money I earned from them, I wouldn't have been able to go on to university. I wouldn't have been able to receive whatever skills I have, and those skills have become useful in my life and have been useful in recent weeks in particular. I would argue that we learn a lot through these challenging times, and most certainly for me, I learned from the skills I gained in my post-secondary studies. I learned a lot from the teaching I was able to do after I graduated, and then I went on to start a small business and create jobs and become a taxpayer and have the chance to share in supporting our programs that are so critical to all of us when we are vulnerable, or if we become vulnerable in our lifetimes. A few weeks ago, we launched our Manitoba Summer Student Recovery Jobs Program, and that jobs program will support our small businesses in being able to hire as many as 5 summer students, giving them support up to $5,000 per student, so a $25,000 support. That is designed to assist us in getting up off the mat that COVID has put us on. That 50-50 wage match with the employer has so far been successful in seeing more than 800 Manitoba businesses hiring over 1,800 Manitoba students. I'd like to see that number go a lot higher, and so we are encouraging Manitobans to be part of this today, and that's what this announcement is about. I'd also mention that our gap protection program, the program we designed to complement the federal supports and make sure that people don't fall through those gaps that are left in the federal programs, has already had over 4,000 eligible applications approved, and more than $25 million of relief has gone directly to Manitobans so far. And I would encourage Manitoba small businesses that feel they need that support to get their applications in by visiting www.manitoba.ca/supports4business for more information on these programs. Alors que le Manitoba prend lentement et soigneusement des mesures pour rouvrir notre économie et nos collectivités, nous continuerons de diriger la résurgence. Employers can benefit from hiring students. I encourage small businesses to do this. I know that some of you are facing challenges attracting people back who have been in receipt of federal support programs. I know that many of you have said that you would like to get back to business. And on next Monday, many of you will have the opportunity to do just that. I encourage you in doing so to bear in mind the energy and the perspectives that may be brought to your businesses by employing a young person. Please give them the support that many of us in Manitoba so generously received over the past number of years. I would say one example of where a student might be helpful to your small business might be in the area of ensuring that public health guidelines are followed. Those public health guidelines, when followed, will ensure that our operations are done COVID carefully, and that they are safe, that they are there to protect not only workers but co-workers and customers who come to your businesses. And this might be one way in which you could give an opportunity for a young person to work in your business. Summer jobs are important to our youth. They help build life skills. They help to develop future career interests too. As for me, one of my first jobs off farm was working at the Fort Loraine Museum in Porters La Prairie. And as a consequence, in part of that employment, I developed a real interest in Canadian history. Ended up majoring in history in my Bachelor of Arts Studies and then teaching history. I have a lifelong interest in the history of our province, our country, our world, and I think that that was partly developed by my hands-on experience at that museum. So I just encourage Manitoba young people also to actively engage in searching out job opportunities, and I encourage our small business community in giving young people those opportunities as well. So today I'm proud to announce that we're expanding our Manitoba Summer Student Recovery Program, and we're going to be launching a new online tool that is dedicated to matching students with those job opportunities with employers who have workforce needs throughout our province. C'est pourquoi je suis fier d'annoncer aujourd'hui que nous élargissons notre soutien aux étudiants en lançant une nouvelle outil en ligne. Destiné à jumeler les étudiants qui recherchent des opportunités d'emploi avec des employeurs qui ont des besoins en main-d'œuvre dans toute la province. Studentjobsmb.ca. That's studentjobsmb.ca. With this tool, employers from the private sector and non-for-profit organizations and governments can post jobs and see a list of top applicants. This tool will expedite connections between employers and students, and it will encourage student summer employment. Student Jobs MB will also be the primary source that the province will use to connect students with government employment opportunities that we are offering through Student Temporary Employment Program, the Conservation Green Team, and the Urban and Hometown Green Team partners as well. And we have a number of applications in, but we would like to see more to assist our young people through not just government jobs, but clearly with this tool, private sector jobs as well. With this announcement today, we're demonstrating our commitment to students in our province, to businesses, and to other employers who can further support giving students the chance to get a job and getting all of us and our economy back going again. And now, Jerin, who I introduced earlier, our Director of Technology and Transformation with the Government of Manitoba, is going to show us how much more we can learn and use this online tool. He's going to show us how it works. Jerin, welcome, and thanks so much for helping us today.
Thank you, Premier. Good morning, everyone. As the Premier mentioned, I'm Jerin Valel. I'm the Director of Technology and Transformation for the Government of Manitoba. And throughout this pandemic, the Government of Manitoba has continued to work with our partners to develop digital tools to help Manitobans. Today, we are launching Student Jobs MB. Why don't we take a look? Student Jobs MB is a tool targeted for students aged 15 to 29 that are newer to the Manitoba job market. This mobile web app provides a simplified solution to large global job search sites that may be overwhelming when trying to enter the workforce for the first time as a student. Student Jobs MB requires no download, no app store. It is device agnostic and is designed for mobile phones and tablets alike. It also works on desktops with modern browsers like Chrome. This tool allows Manitoba students to create one profile and add an optional link to their personal website, upload a resume, and from that one profile, they can apply for as many jobs as they'd like. From government to private sector to nonprofit, the web app already has 136 jobs across 24 communities loaded in. Students can search for jobs and receive notifications when the jobs they're interested in become available or newly posted. They can also respond directly to job postings. Employers may then connect to interested students and find a candidate of their choosing and connect offline via traditional methods. Students or employers have the option to register with single sign-on through Google, Microsoft, Facebook, or create a new account using their email. After all, for a student, finding a job shouldn't feel like a job. Employers will also be able to create a company profile and provide information about their workplace. On their profile, they can post any number of jobs, which may include info like location, work, wage, sector, and type of work. Student Jobs MB is a safe and secure site using technology that is designed to protect privacy. The tool collects minimal personal information, and the Government of Manitoba officials will undertake ongoing monitoring to ensure site integrity, helping users avoid spam or fraudulent activity, decreasing that. I would also like to highlight that the pace from inception to delivery of this project was remarkable, thanks to the hard work of many people and time for the reopening of the economy. Specifically, I would like to thank Premier Pallister, Minister Eckler for making this initiative possible, as well as ADM Colleen Ketchuluk, who spearheaded this initiative and whose team stepped up to deliver this complex project in short order. A special thanks to that department and its vendors. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jerin. Thanks for the presentation and for your comments and presence here today. Really appreciate it. I'll just say to everybody that we can continue to take pride in the progress we've made to date, but there's much more to do. This isn't a sprint. This is a marathon, and we must remain vigilant. No room for complacency. We don't want to have a COVID comeback here, and we'll continue to rely on the advice of our healthcare experts. We cannot let our guard down. Stick to the fundamentals. Wash your hands. Stay home if you are sick. Go and get tested. Remember, we're in a marathon, and that requires diligence, durability, persistence, and a maintenance of the fundamentals that have got us the progress that we have to date. I am confident that we'll continue to be successful if we just keep working as a team. Nous continuons à réussir si nous continuons à travailler ensemble en équipe. Not every Canadian has the opportunity to save a life, but you do, and you have, and we will continue to save even more. Together we will beat this thing. I look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. A reminder to our reporters online, you will have one preliminary question and one follow-up question. Up first this morning from Canadian Press, Steve.
Steve Lambert from the Canadian Press. Premier, another credit rating agency came out with a report on Manitoba. And again, this agency, DBRS Morningstar, is predicting a lower deficit figure than your government predicted back in March. They're saying about $2.5 billion, using the calculation methods the province does. Have you updated your deficit projection? Is the economy, and given the fact the economy is reopening somewhat, are things looking better than expected at this point?
Thanks, Steve, for that. Yeah, and I hope they're right. Our Treasury Board officials did give us projections a few weeks ago, and we plan on getting those projections updated in the not-too-distant future. So I'll be able to give Manitobans a better picture on where we're headed. There'll still be variability, obviously, in our projections, and there's a high degree of risk present right now. So I would just ask everyone's indulgence in understanding that, and understanding that whatever projections are made are going to be best guesses at this point, because we've never been in a situation like this before.
And they're saying they've released some projections for economic shrinkage. How does that align with your government's projections? Are you looking at perhaps a lesser economic downturn than before? DBRS Morningstar today saying nominal GDP will drop 4.5% this fiscal.
Yeah, those are projections. Announcements like the one today, Steve, are an indication that this government is looking forward to having us be the most resilient province possible. And part of that will obviously be things like we're announcing today, getting people back to work, giving the opportunity for young people to find jobs, getting small businesses hiring again and getting them moving. The better job we can do of that, the better chance we have to make the graph look like a V and not like an L, if that works from your side. So I would also mention that on the Morningstar analysis, they did praise our government's performance in respect of COVID, and they referenced that despite delaying tactics by the opposition in the legislature during weeks where the global economic conditions deteriorated considerably, we were able to do very well in the face of the COVID challenges. That's right in the report itself. So these are positive comments, I should mention, from the bond rating agency about our performance as a government, but I would also go on to say I think they're really positive comments about the performance of the people of Manitoba most of all.
From CTV Winnipeg, Jeff.
Mr. Premier, with the expansion of this program you announced today, are you disappointed with the uptake so far?
No, not at all. I'm pleased with the interest and the support. The number of jobs we've created is really impressive, as I shared with you. But I think that there's definitely an opportunity here for us to do even more and better. We've got lots and lots of young people out there who have, who are going to be looking for work. The federal programs end at the end of June, and some may be less inclined to look for work right now because they're in receipt of $2,000 from the CERB program, the federal support program. But I would ask young people to consider the future. We have July and August yet. You can earn some money working. You should be starting to look for work opportunities now and not just counting on the subsidy from the federal government to continue. And so this is an opportunity with this program to give young people that chance to look for and find work, and it's an opportunity for small businesses to find people that they will need to get their business back going again.
Thank you, and I have a follow-up on a different topic.
Sure.
As phase 2 is reopened, more people will be going back to work, Mr. Premier. Obviously, daycare spots, the number has been increased, but there's still some parents that still won't be enough for them. Can you give any indication on when, and I know you just announced phase 2, but when you could see a further increase at daycares, because some parents still won't be able to find spaces?
Well, I can only tell you that right now there's a significant number of spaces available. This is, unheard of in recent years in Manitoba, but that's the nature, I suppose, of having most of our children are at home, right? So daycare needs are less right now. That being said, those needs will increase, and we understand that. And Minister Stephenson and her team have done a tremendous job of working with the daycare industry to help daycares get up and running again. So I expect that the capacity will further increase, and that has to happen because as our economy kicks back into gear, there's going to be more and more need for good quality daycare for Manitoba families.
From City News, Jonas.
Good morning, Mr. Pallister. It's Jonas Fieldar at City News. As there are these benefits for businesses to hire students, a lot of these jobs are probably minimum wage jobs, and the incentives to maybe hire students but not bring back a full-time adult worker. How do you balance that, given that the business could save 50% in hiring a student as opposed to bringing back an adult?
Well, you may be right. Certainly from my experience a number of decades ago, Jonas, the summer wages weren't super high because, frankly, my friends and I didn't have any experience. We were just looking to make some money from our summer jobs. And so a lot of the summer jobs are, by their nature, lower pay jobs. That being said, the money that we earned in our summer jobs was critical to helping open the door to us for further opportunities in education. So I would simply say I think that the small business community and young people need to partner up to find these opportunities that are appropriate to each other And this site is going to make that partnering up all that much more easy, and it's going to help people find jobs, and that's what we're after.
So no concern this will disincentivize businesses to hire adult workers at all?
Well, think about it for a second. There have been job losses throughout the private sector, really significant job losses. Many of them are in retail and in service sectors. Many of them are in hospitality and food. Our daughters both had minimum wage jobs in grocery stores and serving, for example, and many families have had start jobs like that that their children have engaged in. That's great. You got to start somewhere, and you're not starting at the top. The fact of the matter is, though, that businesses are going to want to have employees, a mix of employees. They may need more in the summer. For example, BDI and other service industries in the summer have always employed more people through the summer months than they have in the winter. So temporary jobs provided by students, services provided by students, a common thing in our economy, and there are lots of opportunities out there. But other businesses will want full-time staff back, and clearly they're going to be offering positions to people who've worked with them previously and others that are of a longer-term nature. Our economy is complex, and that's a thing that helps us actually in Manitoba. And so what this is doing is it's attempting to address one aspect of our present needs, which is most certainly helping young people get back to work so that we can open the doors to opportunities that are there for them in post-secondary education and training.
From the Winnipeg Free Press, Larry.
Premier Larry Cushing, the Winnipeg Free Press. The freeze on rent increases is set to end May 31st. Wondering if the government plans to extend it.
It's on the table for sure, Larry, and we'll be having some announcements on further decisions in the very near future. My ministers have been involved, obviously, in incredibly intense efforts in their portfolios over the last number of weeks and months. And so the ministers will continue to be making announcements on the areas of importance in their files.
Yesterday, in answer to a colleague's question on the post-secondary education fund, you said, for example, we need more nurses and we don't need as many teachers. I'm wondering, is the government going to use this $25.6 million transitional support fund to manage enrollments in different faculties, or what is the purpose of the fund?
Well, the purpose of the fund, which is provided by the decisions post-secondaries have made in terms of finding short-term savings, is to make sure those savings remain with those institutions going forward. We needed money, obviously, and we will continue to need money to bolster our front line. But we also know that the post-secondary institutions are going to experience some, we hope, increases in demand for their services going forward. And so we want to make sure that those resources are there for them. And I think we can do both at the same time. Obviously, as was alluded to earlier by a colleague of yours, we're going to have to borrow significant amounts of money on our future to make these necessary steps happen. And we feel that those investments are necessary and important to make. So that's the game plan going forward. As well, we're going to continue to build on the relationships that we're attempting to strengthen with our post-secondaries. And we'll have more to say on that and the consequences of that relationship building in the coming days.
From Global, Brittany.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. Brittany from Global. We've been told by some businesses that they've been getting calls proactively promoting this student summer program. I'm wondering if this is the province calling, who's doing the calling, why, and at what cost?
Oh, well, we actually, Brittany, we have entered into a contract. It was tendered and it was announced some weeks ago with a company here from Manitoba, 24/7, that has been promoting an awareness and answering questions about government programs, ours and the federal programs, to make sure that Manitoba small businesses and individuals are aware of the programs that they can subscribe to help them. So those calls have been coordinated by our government through a tendered contract, and those outgoing calls are now well over 100,000 calls that have been made, which has assisted, and we've got tons of compliments from Manitoba organizations and individuals about how much time that saved them and how much they appreciate those that information and the assistance that they're being able to get.
Thank you. I thought that was just a call-in service to begin with. And my second question is, are we going to be getting any more information on the hero pay that it's been dubbed, or that federal top-up, and who's going to be eligible for that and what it's going to look like?
Yeah, in the next few days, Brittany, we've had really good participation and consultation on this. This is, this is a tremendously deserved benefit. I'll put it that way. But defining who gets it and in what way is very challenging. And so we had asked labor leaders, whether public or private sector, to come together, and they have. And they've been giving us advice, and we're asking for a developing consensus to emerge, and we think that we're getting very close to that. So I would expect in the not too distant future we'll be able to make that announcement. I would also say, of course, it's impossible to please everyone, and it's the surest way to fail. We're going to get the money out as best we can to the people who we believe deserve it most, and that's the goal here. And I hope Manitobans appreciate the work of our frontline people wherever they work. I certainly do, and I'm glad that we're able to participate in this program, shared program with the federal government.
From the Brandon Sun, Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Premier. It's Drew May here from the Brandon Sun. A little bit earlier, you were saying that there were 1,800 student positions created through the provincial program so far. But how many would you be looking for to call the program a success? Like, how many, ideally, would you want to see made?
Well, it's interesting, Drew. Having a target's one thing, but this is a responsive program. We're asking Manitoba small businesses to participate. I'm encouraging Manitobans to look at employing a summer student. I should mention that it doesn't have to be just a small business in Winnipeg or in Brandon. It could be anywhere in the province. And so we will be doing a bit more advertising and promoting this website to encourage people to get on it. And I'll encourage, of course, young people to use the website. But I would hope many more young people would be able to find jobs using this site and seizing the opportunity that they have to get their resume looking a lot better than it will if they don't look for jobs over the summer.
Thank you. And there's been some criticism of this program from some of the provincial unions that the province is investing in students while cutting hours for full-time staff. How do you respond to some of those criticisms?
Well, I can only say that we're also employing more people, summer students, within government. So, frankly, it's a bogus complaint.
From CJOB, Clay.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. I know that you and the other premiers are going to be holding talks with the Prime Minister this evening. What measures does your government what measures is your government looking from the federal government in order to help long-term care facilities? We all know of the situation that we've been hearing about in Ontario.
Yeah, that's right, Clay. There'll be a number of issues, I'm sure, raised on the call. I expect that to be one of them. I expect the supports, temporary supports for people needing COVID testing so they don't have to give up pay is going to be another one. And I think a third issue, most certainly, that I'll raise is the mixed messages that have come from Ottawa in respect of Indigenous celebrations as well. One of the bands in Manitoba has announced that they're planning on going ahead with a powwow. COVID doesn't know any boundaries. We have had great success in this province partnering and working with Indigenous communities and leaders to keep COVID out of our communities. And now is not the time to begin to disrespect public health orders that have kept Manitobans safe, all Manitobans. So I'll be raising this on the call with the Prime Minister because there have been mixed messages coming out of the federal government about this. We're not people who believe in two-tier health. All of us don't have an immunity to COVID or its impacts on us and our communities and our friends. So we need to act responsibly now, and we need to act in partnership with one another. That's what we've been doing. That's got us where we are. That's what we have to continue doing as we move forward.
Just a quick follow-up. Any reaction to an Angus Reid poll results coming out this morning on approval ratings among the premiers Now, your approval rating has gone up actually 4 points from February. It sits at 47%, but that is down compared to some other things.
Well, I can only say I've never been much of a fan of polls except at election time. We seem to do pretty good at election time. The second thing I'd say is I think that poll also shows that we lead the country in flattening the curve on COVID. So if I have to choose between being popular or not and beating COVID, I'll choose beating COVID. That'd be my preference.
From the Winnipeg Sun, Josh.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. I just have a very quick follow-up question to the one that just asked. Do you know why people, despite the low numbers of COVID-19, have not responded to your leadership the same way they have Higgs or Horgan or Moe, some of these other premiers? Legault in Quebec has had a huge jump. Is there any understanding as to why people have not responded to your leadership on COVID-19?
I don't accept that people haven't responded to our government's leadership on COVID-19. You're talking about my personal rating. I don't care about being popular. I care about getting results, and that's the same thing I've said since I got into politics, and I'm not likely going to change. So you don't like me, that's fine. You like our results on COVID, that's good. I think the reality is most Manitobans think we're doing a heck of a good job, and that's praise for my colleagues. They've been doing a great job. But most importantly, that's praise for Manitobans, and I've said that from the start. Our ability to flatten the curve on COVID is because Manitobans are doing the right things, and I say thanks to them. And you don't have to like me for that. I don't really care. What I care about is that we've saved a lot of lives here in Manitoba. We've kept our people safe, and we're on the track to bring our economy back and get our people back working and get our lives back. That's what I'm after.
And follow up to Steve's question from the beginning on the economic forecast and credit rating from Morningstar. When you look at the short-term debt compared to the long-term debt, there's greater concern over that short-term debt. How do you approach the short-term debt and the long-term debt for this province, and how does that impact the province's economic recovery as we go forward?
Well, what we've done, and this is not something that's been exceptionally common in the past as a government, is we've kept our eye on the ball and focused on the challenges, but not gone willy-nilly in every direction to throw our kids and our grandkids into greater debt than they already are. We are the most indebted province in Canada. While some people like us to ignore hydro, but if you ignore hydro, you're ignoring the fact that we're the owners of hydro. Manitobans own hydro, and hydro debt is a big deal. So we are the most indebted province in Canada. So we've been managing to do the things we need to do today without disrespecting our own future. That's really important. As both these bond rating agencies have noted, we are a high debt province. As the Parliamentary Budget Office analysis of just a few weeks ago noted, Manitoba is in dangerous high debt position moving forward. Ignoring that, as some critics would have us do, will only be done at the peril of our own future. And so we care very much about how things are being managed today, but like all good parents, like all responsible people, we're not disrespecting our own future when we're more vulnerable and we're older, or when our children are here and don't deserve to have to carry all the load that we handed to them. So this sustainability is what's been missing in many governments, and certainly here over the last number of years. It's what we inherited, and it's what we're making sure we learn from and don't repeat.
From CBC Radio Canada, Ezra.
Bonjour, Monsieur Premier Ministre. Yesterday, you talked about your government's intentions for revamping higher education to better prepare students for jobs. Now, some university teachers are concerned and are claiming that that you're in fact using the COVID-19 situation to your political advantage. What would you answer to those teachers' claims, please?
Well, that's a gross misrepresentation of the reality that we have to face You know, in several other provinces, in almost 80% of the United States, there are structures in place to partner post-secondary institutions more effectively with the economies that support them and pay for them. This is what we're after, and these partnerships are essential. And virtually every academic leader in the country, I'm not saying professors, I'm not talking about the professors' associations or their union, I'm talking about academic leaders, is embracing this opportunity. This is an opportunity to help our post-secondary institutions work better, to be more effective in training people, helping people to move forward. It's an opportunity to be embraced. It's being embraced around the world. If some tenured professors don't want to embrace the opportunity, I think that simply strengthens the argument that their ivory tower attitude is counterproductive to the best interests of the rest of us. And so I would simply say the response we've had from university leaders, including David Bernard at the U of M, Annette Trimby at the University of Winnipeg, the leaders in our community colleges, has been tremendously supportive. And I am very, very excited about building on that relationship and those opportunities, because Manitoba students and Manitobans are going to be the people who benefit from the strengthening of those relationships.
Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Merci.
From CBC Manitoba, Bart.
Hey, Mr. Premier, there are businesses in Riding Mountain National Park that are confused about the different provincial and federal regulations that are governing their openings or reopenings for the work. What guidance would you have to offer those businesses?
Well, I'm very interested in making sure that we give clarity to as many of our businesses in Manitoba as possible. If there's confusion, I assure you, that we'll look into it and see what we can to address it immediately.
Okay. And more along the lines of Ezra's question, in the letter to universities, there's a reference to power skills that that employers would like to get from or see from their university graduates. Can you elaborate on what is a power skill?
That's a really good question, Bartley, and we'll have the opportunity, I expect pretty much early next week, to address in more detail power skills and all the other skills that are necessary for people in our province to develop as they attend post-secondary institutions. Just want to say thanks to everybody. It's been an exciting week, I think, for many Manitobans. We are cautiously and carefully beginning to reopen our economy, and I know that those opportunities are exciting to many, not just small business people, but the people who work in those businesses and the customers who want to go back and support them. I want to say, as I had the chance to do a little bit of a tour around Winnipeg and a few neighborhoods late yesterday, I noticed that many people were enjoying being outside. They were enjoying the beautiful weather. We've had a little relapse today. Winter's trying to make a comeback. But what we don't want is a COVID comeback. And so I just say thank you to everybody for remembering how critically important it is to follow the fundamentals that have got us these opportunities. Wherever you live, it's important to follow those fundamentals. Follow the health guidelines. Follow the health directives. Listen to what the doctor is saying. Be careful. Save a life. We can beat this thing together.